Welcome to the Lightwork Women podcast. We are experienced women with credibility. We know what life is like. Transform your life with our top-tier psychic and wellness services. We offer effective solutions tailored to empower you on your journey to spiritual wellness. In this podcast series, we talk about tarot, mediumship, Reiki, mental health, magic, witchcraft, and much, much more. We hope you enjoy our show. Please get a cuppa, have a seat, have a listen. And just remember, many hands make light work. Welcome to another episode of Lightwork Women. I'm here today with the beautiful Robyn Ridley from the Goddess Sanctuary. How are you, Robyn?
I'm wonderful, thanks, Renee. Lovely to be here again, sharing our passion.
Yep, this is an astrology episode. So, in this particular podcast, we're going to be talking about the transit of Jupiter moving into Cancer, which will be happening between the 8th and the 9th of June 2025, depending on where you are in the world. So, what do you think about this transit? Let's just keep it open and easy breezy, Robyn. What are your
Yeah,
thoughts?
I think, well, we know that Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, so it's quite happy in there. So we can expect, like, it's generally considered a positive move. And I think if we remember that, then we can look at all the gifts that we can get from that. I mean, obviously, that can extend further out. But I think, you know, one of the prizes of this is home sweet home. You know, the ultimate for like Jupiter in Cancer is, it's not just your house, it's making it your home. And I think this is what we'll all be pushed to do, making home sacred, making home special, our relationships, our close relationships, all of that. And I think one of the main things that stand out there is the caregiving aspect of Cancer, is that we can create such a beautiful environment for everyone else. But the main thing to remember is we've got Jupiter, which is that beautiful, good fortune and all about expansion. But what about the expansion of giving? So we must be mindful of our boundaries, not to give too much of ourselves away, because Jupiter is in Cancer is definitely about creating that loving, nurturing, caring environment. But sometimes, like, at what cost, So I think ultimately, I think it is about helpful wisdom, just being mindful of that little inflation there, if there's overwhelm or anything like that, and what sort of tools you can use to overcome that. But also having that understanding, it is the time, and we love this. I'm sure we love this, don't we, Renee? That understanding of philosophy, higher truths, that the opportunity to tap into that gorgeous truth, where the wisdom is coming from probably more our emotional body, so it's not sort of from all that's without. There's a lot coming from within. So I see, this is it'll be I see it as predominantly positive, but I also understand that we need to have that mindfulness of Jupiter's ability to, increase. Yeah. A lot of healing can take place at this time as well, I believe. But I thought, yeah, they're probably the few key points. I mean, there's many more, as you know.
Yeah, I think, the Jupiter in that maternal sort of space is going to expand and be able to, help us care for others and the world around us, not just, I mean, charity starts at home, as the
Mm-hmm.
old saying goes. But I think Jupiter being exalted in such a feminine energy as well, with the moon being ruling Cancer,
Mm-hmm.
I also feel at that time the moon's going to be in Sagittarius, which is also that energy of, like, emotional sort of higher learning and really being in touch with our feminine side.
Mm.
It's sort of a nice balance between our sort of four-part series on the goddesses. But I think as well, excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. I'm going to have to cut this out. Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that. I think Jupiter in Cancer is going to be able to give us an opportunity to care for not just our home environment and our family, but those around us. And it will give us that opportunity to expand our knowledge in many ways. As you said, with that Jupiter sort of being the ruler of Sagittarius of higher learning, the moon will be in Sagittarius at that time as well, which is kind of interesting. It's a nice,
Mm,
I don't know, it's just a nice mix. And,
mm,
generally speaking, my biggest, the thing I was most excited about this particular transit is the fact that when we think of expansion in a place like Cancer being feminine, the opposite sign for Cancer is obviously Capricorn, and
mm,
it is going to be squaring Saturn, which rules Capricorn. And so, on one hand, I think, especially with women in business, because
mm,
Capricorn being that sort of energy of CEO and, legacy and getting the top job, I think there's still going to be sort of some challenges around that, which is, women being more disciplined with how they manage their business, business owners, trying to expand their business online and actually work with other women in particular. I think that's also going to be a bit of a challenge because, on one hand, that beautiful energy of if you are an actual Cancer, obviously you're going to be blessed for the next 12 months because it brings in this beautiful providence and protection and good fortune. But for the rest of us, we're all still working out how that would be good for us and how that would affect us. But I'd like to think that Jupiter, despite the aspects that it has, I mean, it's conjunct Mercury as well, which is actually a beautiful thing. It means,
yeah.
conversation is going to be happening freely. But the double edged sword with Jupiter is not only expansion and good luck and good fortune, it can also be an over exaggeration of being
Yes.
potentially oversensitive about certain issues or overindulging in certain things as well. So I think, as always, we as women in business, we need to be a little bit more resilient. Not that we're never resilient, but the economy at the moment is pretty tough and, we're challenged in so many different ways trying to create that work-life balance. But I also love the fact that we're going to get good luck if we are sitting in a home space, that beautiful home,
Mm,
that sacred sanctuary energy that you were talking about as well.
mm,
Um,
mm.
I'm not going to argue with being able to work from home.
No. Great space. Um, Interesting that you say that because when we look at the over exaggeration or that that when there's overwhelm and there's too much caregiving and
Mm.
giving it at what cost. And I think the beautiful aspect of that is the tarot card that goes with Sagittarius is the
Mm.
beautiful temperance. And I just think that is such a beautiful card in whilst there's that emotional component, there's that beautiful aspect of reminding us of yes, patience and that sort of thing, but also that moderation. So this
Yeah.
is another thing which can support or make us take check of our boundaries. Like, what do we need to moderate? How much of ourselves do we give? How much of ourselves do we extend ourselves? Because when everything's positive and going wonderfully, sometimes we can just go, 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 go. And then all of a sudden the candle starts to flicker. So I love the fact that we have that opportunity to think of that temperance card. Yeah.
I agree. And, the moon being in Sagittarius and that Sagittarian energy of temperance. But even the Wheel of Fortune card itself is that sort
Mm,
of that eye in the sky, that beautiful sort of representation of Jupiter being, maybe it is time to pay it forward. Maybe it is, our turn this year, because since the dawn of time, we've been challenged with, lower pay or whatever it is in the corporate world, and not
yeah.
really been taken as, logical thinkers or as aggressive business people as our male counterparts. But I think that Jupiter this year in particular, even though it's being challenged by that square in Saturn, I think
Hmm.
it's actually, power to us. I think the bigger the
Yeah.
challenge, you know, the more we have to shine because, I mean, who wants an easy win? It's not about the easy win.
Yeah.
It's about, being able to to combat certain things and do it in a space that's supporting us. And I think Jupiter is going to be supportive within that Cancer energy. And I think any woman who is running their own business or wanting to succeed, especially when it does move into that sign on around early June, that first week of
Mm.
June, we're going to feel it. Regardless of whether or not you're a Cancer sun, moon, or rising, it doesn't really matter. I think it's all
Mm.
about harnessing that good luck and good fortune and sharing it as much as we can. But again,
Mm.
keeping ourselves in check, because the Cancer itself can go through so many different emotional cycles. With that being
Yeah.
ruled by the moon, it changes, every 3 days, every month. This is why
Yes.
Cancerians have that reputation of being a little bit moody or crabby, no pun intended. So
Mm. Mm.
I think, just being mindful of that too, because
Yeah.
that can also have a role in how we just remain stoic and not sort of lose our cool
Mm.
when things get sort of a bit busy. But I'm hoping
Yeah.
things get busy, and I'm hoping things are going to work, especially for a group like us, like Work Women. We're wanting to expand, we're wanting to grow. Um,
Yeah.
we're up for the challenge.
Yeah. Definitely. It really interesting. I had a little reflection. I'm chatting about this previously, I think, but I had a little reflection when Jupiter was in Cancer on a personal level, just to have a little look. And I thought, what was I doing at that time? And then I went, oh, that's really interesting because I was working from home. Like
Mm,
I created workshops and things and did a goddess retreat overseas. But in addition to that, when I got back, I started doing workshops in my space at home, which were healing. So it was that aspect of connecting to the home, the expansion and the healing process. So it was sort of like, and that wasn't like it wasn't planned. It was just the way that everything went. And so you look at that and you go, well, Jupiter was working at that point in time, keeping me in the home space, allowing me to create that, that sense of um, growth and a safe place for women and the healing space. So I thought that's fascinating because it's like, oh, well, for any of us, anything could be possible this year
mm. I just
or
did a
this
quick bit of math
year's
as
coming
well.
ahead. Yeah.
Oh,
What'd you say?
sorry.
What'd you find out?
I did. Yeah, I just as you were talking. Actually, I didn't plan it prior to the podcast, but I'm thinking it's 2013. And I
13,
think
14.
at that point, it's quite funny. Let me just quickly check. I think at that point, that was the year that I was elevated to, when does it say? Yeah, it was actually the year before I was elevated to a creative director role, which is the highest role you can get in
Hmm.
design and creative with a
Hmm.
social expression company. And interestingly enough, the woman that hired me was a Cancer.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
predominantly female business as well, which was also interesting. I think there was only two blokes in the whole company, and the rest were women. So
Mm,
that's it's kind of interesting as well,
it
being able
is.
to expand and move forward in that sort of
Yeah.
larger, um, yeah, in a large, we're having large responsibility and things like that.
Mm,
Um, Yeah, look, I think overall it's just going to be one of those energies where it's about, nurturing one another, having an emotional capacity for others, not just women, obviously our friends and family, and people around us, but, you know, celebrating what life's all about and celebrating, getting out into the sunshine, because it is going to be summer in the northern hemisphere.
mm,
Admittedly, yes, it's going to be winter here in the southern, but I
yeah.
think because it's celebrated, because it's exalted, because it's abundant, that's what gives it its exaltation in the height of summer in the north. So I think even that itself should encourage people to step out into the sunshine, shine your light as brightly as you can at that point, because that's harnessing the seasonality of that transit.
Hmm.
If you're going to do it any other time in any other sign, you'd probably want to do it in Cancer, because it is, birth, fruits are abundant, everything like that beautiful Three of Cups.
Mm,
Mercury in Cancer, it's a celebration. It's a time for rejoice. It's a time
yeah.
for harvest. It's amazing. I'm
Mm,
excited about it. I'm just hoping that, again, all the things that circle around that, I have, you know, always trying to find capacity for too many things, but
yeah.
just trying to do our best.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think that is a good lead into actually a reminder to go inward, like consult yourself, listen, go inward to get your answers. And therefore, rather than seeking external teachers, although we want that higher learning, we
Mm,
actually, I think in cancer, we tend to need to do it within. I feel, I mean, you might feel differently, but I feel there needs to be that connection with the inner teacher um, on that road to our higher truths.
mm,
But I really feel that inward process is where we're going to have the growth and that beautiful wisdom, like that wisdom awakening. Um, and I think being clear on who we can trust when we're working with those energies as well, like you were talking about in business. And I think if we're looking to expand ourselves in business, like who do we trust? And we need to trust that inner barometer, if you like, of
mm,
who has that capacity and caring nature that can help support us in our plight for growth and how
mm,
we go about that.
mm.
Yeah,
Well, I did put the Placidus house system over a chart that I was looking at as well, just to add like, oh, the what if,
yeah,
what kind of house would it be sitting in? And for us here in the Southern Hemisphere, it's sitting in the seventh house, which is about relationships and
yeah,
those
of course.
contractual agreements. And again, contracts of trust and reliability and, being able to show up and be present. But
Hmm.
the teaching and the inner, this the self help, if you like, or the self development within is I mean, something that I absolutely love. I haven't had many mentors or many people teaching me certain things. If I have learned certain things, it's not through a formal, academic setting. It's always been just with who I'm drawn to and life experience and those sorts of things.
Mm,
But definitely June, July, August are my favorite times of the year because it's all about hibernation. And I've got a
yeah.
stellium in Cancer too. So
Oh,
I love
nice.
being at home.
Yeah,
Being at home is the ultimate for me. It's kind of
yeah.
not definitely wasn't my thing in my 20s, but in my
Mm-hmm.
50s for sure. Nothing like
Yeah.
curling up with a good book and just going, okay, what are we reading about today? And just having that sort of selfish moment all to yourself with your head in a book. I think it's a great
But
way to
that
learn.
allows that all to sieve in, doesn't it? It's like a sieve that just filters through every aspect of your being. And then it's like, well, what's my truth in this? Or what? Yeah, I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
when it actually arrives, what are some of the things that you're going to be actioning, or, what would be some of your prompts for this transit, do you think?
My prompts, well, first of all, I think that inner trusting. So the truth will grow. I think the truth will come automatically. So remembering that what we're doing is about our experiences rather than abstract ideas. So I feel we have to embrace our experiences. This is where
Mm-hmm.
I feel this is, embracing our experiences in the moment. And then what is it that we want to experience? Where is it that we want to envision ourselves to be if you want to look toward the future? But for me, it's just so much about that process of moving beyond the abstract and yeah. So for me, I feel like I want to grab more experiences. And what that turns out to be, I'll never know at this point. But I'm feeling things will unravel where I'll get to experience things on a new level, possibly gain a new understanding, and then step into that emotional intelligence with that and go, here's the growth, here's the truth. Oh my God. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, emotional intelligence is key because if you think of the Two of Cups, you've got two people looking at each other eye to eye. They're
Mm,
literally
mm,
mirroring one another with masculine and feminine,
mm,
having that feeling of attraction and understanding that you have the same vision as the other person, or you're both on the same page. You see eye to eye on certain
Mm.
things, and really surrounding yourself in safe environments and environments where you feel connected to people that, again, you can trust, or that they, there's no judgment there, or it's a safe space. And that's really
Mm.
important because that's what cancer's all about. It's why it has a shell. If it doesn't have a
Yeah.
shell, it's lunch.
Mm.
And, these sort of little crustaceans on the beach, I mean, that's where they're sought after for, seaside bistros and
Yep.
all
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
Yeah.
They are
Yeah.
food, so
Yeah.
they're always needing that protection and needing sanctuary and understanding, um,
Mm.
where it's safe and where they can be safe so they can be nurtured or be able to nurture others. I mean, you're not going to see a mother nurturing a child in the middle of a busy street. She needs to be at
Mm.
home or behind closed doors or in a space where it's safe.
Yeah.
And I think that is also the energy of it, it's the energy of,
Mm. Mm.
I mean, I'm on a bit of a crunch deadline with my book at the moment. So hibernating and being in a sanctuary and like going within and
Yeah. That
letting
inner.
those,
Yeah.
being cathartic with my personal experiences as a woman
Yep.
and documenting that in a book is going to be this perfect time for Jupiter to leave Gemini, which is my sign, and move into
Mhm.
that Cancer space. So it'll be interesting to
Mm.
see how that will affect on a personal level, like my creative process as well,
Yeah.
and what
Yep.
that might bring to the pages that
Mm.
unfold that I haven't written yet.
Oh, you've
I'm
done a fair bit
halfway.
though. Yeah, that's right. Look at what you've done, not what you haven't completed. When you mentioned the Two of Cups and you were talking about like it looking into the eyes, I just sort of went, that's the key word for me, truth. Honesty,
Mm,
truth is so important. So if you're looking in someone's eyes, I just have to say this because the truth comes in funny little forms. I think there can be an illusion around the truth.
mm,
People want you to believe a certain thing,
mm,
and there can be um, a facade, if you like, or an illusion created. So I think
mm.
this is where, for ourselves, sitting in this gentle, soft space of Jupiter in Cancer, it's like trusting ourselves. So, what is your truth and who is true to you? Because sometimes it's not all is not what it seems. So, I think for me, bringing the boundaries back, holding that space in that nurturing environment and not allowing the penetration of anything else. Good shell, huh? Yeah, have the shell on the back as a security and protection. Definitely.
Yeah. And just on that protection of the shell or the exoskeleton or the crab shell
Mm,
itself, it's such an interesting thing because when we think of it growing, a crab grows, it has to actually break out of that shell because it
mm,
needs to actually grow bigger.
yeah.
And the only way to grow bigger is to get rid of that shell. And that process in itself is really challenging because
Mm-hmm,
obviously it has to push out of that encasing in order for it to break and then fall over, and then it'll be vulnerable for a very short period of time until the next shell grows around that. And
mm-hmm,
so, in order to grow within a Cancer energy or, expand in a Jupiter
mm-hmm,
sense, because that's what it's doing, it's expanding, and the shell is actually, breaking out of that. Um, I think that's also going to be part of the challenge. It's like this constant sort of need to expand, but there was always going to be a challenge around that. That's why cancers never really, I don't know, I've found most cancers to be quite empathetic. Obviously, there's a huge sensitivity with them because they've got this gooey center, but they're quite hard to get to know. As what I'd like to sort of remember saying is that they're a bit of a tough nut to crack because of that shell.
yeah.
And if you do happen to if you happen to crack that shell, what's on the inside is not how it, like you said, not how it's perceived on the outside as this kind of fierce, armored. You look at the chariot with the armored shoulder
Mm,
pads, and he's actually
yeah.
in armor.
Yeah.
And that pathway leading from Binar to Gabora is preparing for the war, preparing to move into Mars. And so
Mm,
Cancer's always ready for battle. I think Cancer's always ready to fight the good fight too. It's not
mm,
one, it's not
mm,
an energy that you know, it has to protect itself for survival, but at the same time, it's also ready to, again, fight the good fight. It's not about argument for argument's sake. It's not what they like, how they like to spend their time or engage with other people.
Mm.
But they definitely, you know the difference between the good, the bad, and the ugly, I think.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I think the key for that about what you said about the crab shell is the ability to know that growth is, I wouldn't say looming because that gives it a different connotation, but growth is inevitable, or growth can also be a choice. So it's like, and with that, yes, there can always be that level of discomfort. So I think
Mm.
for everyone in this period when Jupiter is in Cancer, it's like, well, we're ready for this emotional growth. Are we ready for the intelligence? Are we ready for our potential? Mm.
I think that's an excellent prompt. If you are listening and you've got a pen and paper handy, maybe journal some of these questions around this time, because I think it's important to be prepared as much as we can. I mean, life is unpredictable, but the more we are, again, mentally and emotionally available to be on the front foot and be ready to receive or ready to, protect and serve, that's going to serve us, in the best possible way.
Mm.
So I think that's probably a wrap, Robyn. What do you think?
Yeah,
Do you think
that
we've
sounds
covered
pretty good
enough?
place to end because it's food for thought. And I think this is what we need to do. We need to go within to look at that.
Yeah. Well, I
Mm.
hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. Myself with Robyn Ridley from the Goddess
Mm.
Sanctuary. You can visit her website, robynridley.com. And if you're interested in my website, it's newangeltarot.com. But overall, we're part of a collective called Lightwork Women. There's a few of us that get together and do podcasts, and we offer services ranging from Reiki, tarot readings, astrology, and much more. And our official collective website is lightworkwomen.com. And you can find all the information about our other practitioners there. Thank you, Robyn.
Wonderful. Thanks, Renee. Thank you, everybody.
You're welcome, and we'll see you in our next episode.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Lightwork Women. If you'd like to find out more about any of the guests on our show and our practitioners, visit our website, lightworkwomen.com. Until next time, thanks for listening.